with Basquiat, with Bob Marley, with all these people who've had freeform dreadlocks, they all look very different. None of them look too similar, although they all are freeform. That's the cool thing about freeform dreadlocks versus twisting with gel dreadlocks versus sponge rub versus interlocking versus crochet hooking, instant locks, whatever you want to call it. That's the difference between freeform and all these other methods, because all the other methods, you can make your dreadlocks look exactly like someone else's if you follow those correct steps. That's why I make these videos. I tell you the hair type, I tell you the method, the maintenance, and the hairstyle so that you guys can mimic or emulate that style of dreadlocks. But with freeform, it's a little bit different just because everybody's hair turns out differently. So guys, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and also comment down below who you want to see next before the video, and then we'll get straight into it. So since this is the first video on Caleb Murphy, let's talk quickly about his hair type, which the hair type really indicates the method which he chose, which we already know he's doing freeform. But he does have about a 4A hair type, so he has a tight curl pattern. It's not too tight, but it is in a sweet spot, and I think it's perfect for freeform dreadlocks because it allows a lot of unique distinction in his hair. One thing I can tell you about looking at Caleb Murphy's dreadlocks is that at some points, either throughout the day or throughout the week or even throughout the month, is that he does have his hair up for a certain amount of time, long enough so that his hair stands up when it freeforms. And that's why we have the hair standing up on the top of the head. And that happens just because he pulls it up, whether it be when he's sleeping or if he pulls it up on game day, which is actually really interesting. Every time I see him play, he's not wearing any hair ties. And if he is, they're very loose. But that's how you get the hair to actually stand up, is pull it up every now and again. Not constantly, because you're gonna have some creasing and bending and so on and so forth. But say if you pulled it up every night to sleep, then it's gonna be perfect because your hair is gonna be forming as you're sleeping. One thing I think that's very interesting is how he has that single dreadlock that hangs out in front. And I'm sure he just did that just by separation. Or it's just a dreadlock that he twists on his own time, or when he's bored, that's what he twists. And we see this with a lot of people. We've seen this with Odell Beckham Jr. We've actually even seen this with Super Saiyan Shosho, to where they'll twist a couple of the dreadlocks in the front, but with him, it's just a single dreadlock. So that's pretty interesting. And we've actually seen him wearing dreadlock jewelry in that as well. So I want to talk briefly to you guys about what congos are, because that's essentially what freeform dreadlocks are. And that's what we see in Caleb Murphy's hair, is a bunch of congos. A congo is essentially 2 or more dreadlocks combined into one big dreadlock. So that's the difference between a wick and a congo. A wick is essentially just a really thick dreadlock from the tip all the way to the root. And a congo is a thick root with finger-like dreadlocks at the tips. And that's what we see all over Caleb Murphy's head. He has like 20 to honestly maybe even 50 head congos right here. And you see those congos are built into other congos. So looking at his head, he has kind of like the Weeknd style of dreadlocks when Weeknd had his. You see 4 really big sections, and then on top of those sections, you see a bunch of single little dreadlocks. And that's what to expect with his hair type, with doing freeform, and with pulling his hair up every now and again. But one thing I really appreciate is that he has a high top fade, which makes the freeform dreadlocks look that much better. And then also he has a really sharp lineup, which makes it even better. And guys, in this last photo, we've seen that he actually has bleached that single dreadlock that's out in front. And we're starting to notice that there's more combination going on. And one thing that's actually really cool is that his hair hasn't even reached full maturity. And that's how you know he's going completely freeform, because his hair is still quite loose, but it is all combined. And with that just takes time. This is years of locking. And that's really what happens with freeform dreadlocks. It just takes years and years, and the hair just constantly transforms. Every single year is different. Like we've seen that with The Weeknd. We've seen that with how Lil Wayne's hair actually is now, how he kind of started out freeform, then went maintenance,